So Paulie Malignaggi chimes in on Wilder versus Fury 3. And he just can't help himself. Let's talk about it.
Push the weight and flex. The livest one in the section. With the runner boy, you nigga, no question. You will run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood trying to stack a little cheddar for the money.
Wow. Drew Titan Bronx on deck. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And when I heard this, I had to speak on it. You know why? For those of you who've been subbed to me for some time now, you know that I reviewed a conversation that Paulie and I had on Instagram. It got ugly and then we brought it down a notch. But in that conversation, in which I'll review in a couple of minutes, you'll see how out of touch he is. And you see where his thought process is. But before I go there, isn't it kind of strange how leading up to this fight, there are a lot of opinions coming about. And there are a lot of distractions. Some are expected, like from Paulie, and some are from the unexpected. But still in all, they are as expected. So shout out to the champ for having a granite chin in the ring and outside of the ring. Man, is he being tested. But we smiling all the way to the 24th. And we're going to see all of you on the 25th. A lot of trouble going on here. But, Paulie Malignaggi does an interview. And he basically thinks that Deontay Wilder is going to lose. He's going to get walked through. And he goes on to praise the fighting spirit of the gypsies. He says that Deontay Wilder cannot fight off the back foot. Right. But before I go there, I want to give you guys an idea of who we're listening to, who we're dealing with. Paulie Malignaggi. You know, Paulie, I think you're still salty that Deontay got you fired. You know, he's the major breadwinner in boxing on Showtime, and you said nothing, absolutely nothing constructive in reference to the draw between him and Fury the first time. You degraded him, and you downplayed everything that he did. And to the untrained ear, you would hoodwink a person that is less knowledgeable, which is why we're here. We're here for quality control. I say that a lot, Paulie. And Showtime understood. They said, hey, man, you know what? We saw what biased commentary did to HBO. They ain't here now. And Paulie, you showed us who you are, because when you were called out for saying certain things as it pertains to race in this country, race around the world, and the struggle of the Black American, the Black person in this world, you didn't shy from it. You stood on your square. So I want to remind everyone exactly who we're dealing with here. This is Paulie Malignaggi. You know, a lot of racist people don't even know that they're racist. Did you know that? Now, before anyone looks at him and say, well, you know, he's a fighter and he's fair and balanced. And man, don't have no short memory. Please don't do that to yourself. Do not do that to yourself. Let me remind you of who this man is. This is the conversation that him and I had over the Ahmaud Arbery shooting some time ago. This is on Instagram. I numbered it the best way that I could. But let me read some of this so you'll know. In reference to the shooting, I said, no justification for this savage behavior at Paulie IS. But then again, white European males tend to behave in this manner. It must be genetic, eh? Now, I did that on purpose. I baited him. I did. I baited him. Because he was being real reckless with his mouth. Real reckless. So, when I said that, he responded. Now listen to what he says. Or you could use common sense and wonder why he's making a run for it after coming out of a house where he was trespassing in. Or why he kept running to the point he even doubled back around to avoid them. I don't know. That's just me. I wouldn't be so obsessed with making a run or a mad dash for it if I had did nothing wrong. Then again, I wouldn't be trespassing in broad daylight either. I don't really agree with the whole Georgia law allowance or for citizens arrest, but let's also not make it like two random white guys chase down a random black kid because he was black, because then you're just lying to yourself. Fuck out of here. Besides, these guys are rednecks, not European. Just like you don't want all blacks painted with the same brush, don't paint all whites with the same one either. Now let's stop right there for 1 second. What do we know about that word trespassing in reference to the Arbery case? And I explained this to him later. He wasn't trespassing. And what stopped those two animals from calling the police? Why did three animals take the law into their own hands? But this is what we're dealing with here. And the reason why I came at him like this was because he came out on some social media and said, yo, player, I think we need to review the new evidence. Arbery was trespassing on property that didn't belong to him. But in Georgia, you are allowed to go inside properties like that because you might be willing to purchase. He goes on to say in this conversation, and I'll get to it, that Arbery didn't look like the type of person to purchase it. How do you know what he has in his bank account? Well, let's go on. But you see who we're dealing with right here. So automatically he's blaming Arbery for his own murder. Okay, so here we go. I said, glad you responded. Not all sense is common. Proof is in the position you take in this situation. He had 3 people chasing him, 2 with firearms, none of which were law enforcement. Okay. Are you aware that the owner of the property said that Arbery broke no laws? Aside from that, are you aware that those murderers are Klan members? Why didn't they call the police, give a detailed description of the potential perp, and wait for them to show up? Who were they to engage and use deadly physical force? What gave them that right? If you walked down the street anywhere in the South and 3 black men began chasing you in a truck, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop and see what the issue is? Paulie, you are from Brooklyn, player. Don't act like you don't know what that is or you don't know what this was. And as a point of information, all white males on this soil is of European descent with an ugly track record. Again, I'm baiting him. Learn the history of this land. Point me to an article where it said Arbery unlawfully trespassed. The owner of the property said no law was broken, and he was now receiving death threats from, guess who? Angry white racist. So with that being fact, and you speaking out of ignorance and actually standing on that square, that shows your extreme level of cognitive dissonance. It's okay. Okay? I responded what I said. Another look at this situation and seeing it for what it is, a modern day lynching. You choose to go to the ignorant route because you're frightened to admit that you fucked up. Good luck, player. And I said, and just so I'm clear, you are from Brooklyn. I am from the Bronx. I know what it means if 3 people roll up on you and begin to chase you for no reason. In New York City, it can mean an unwarranted beatdown. I know you know that much because we're both from New York. Okay? The difference is that in this particular case, with the evidence being what it is or what it was, there is no other reason to think that this wasn't racially driven. You're telling me if you got chased in the same manner, you wouldn't take off running? F out of here, player. He responds, the chase point you made is taken to a degree. The other side of it is he comes out running from a house he didn't belong inside in the first place. Okay. Did I not just say that the owners of that property said that Arbery broke no laws? He just completely disregarded what they said and what I brought to his attention. And he goes on to say he came running from a house that didn't belong to him. He didn't belong inside of in the first place. He said no one does that unless they know they are in the wrong. Do you see the problem here? Do you see the disconnect here? I guess we see what the rest of the clues are when the case opens. Keep in mind, there is no citizen's arrest allowance in New York, so the viewpoint me and you see as New Yorkers don't apply in Georgia, where both shooters and victim lived. When you live somewhere and are an adult, I am sure you'll be more familiar with the laws, especially if you've been arrested in the past. You see, we all study the law. There's a lot of typos here, so you got to excuse both of us. We all study the law more than we get arrested. Well, first of all, Paulie, I've never been arrested. Never in my life. He said, which he had been. We all study the local law more than we get arrested, which he had been. So now he's pointing out that Arbery had been arrested in the past. You see how he's trying to justify Arbery getting shot? Criminal record he's bringing up. He's had an arrest in the past. He said, I grew up in New York, as did you. I get where you're coming from, and more so than if a random person had given me that same analogy. I said, all white males. I just painted you with a broad brush. Sounds effed up, right? I said, I could have said the history of white people conquering this soil is effed up, but instead, I put all of you guys in the same boat. Sounds ignorant, right? Think twice before you say silly things in reference to racism as it pertains to black people. You have no clue what you're talking about. But then again, I think you do, and you have another agenda. Keep showing everyone who you are, player. We see you for who you are. Damn shame I used to support you as a New Yorker. And that's true. He said, point made. But you expose yourself and let it all out for me. Don't hold back, player. Now he's mocking me. No agenda here, just calling it as I see it. Boom. Now right there. He's calling it how he sees it. I just pointed out Arbery broke no laws. Those men took the law in their own hands, and they were in no danger. They pursued that young man and they killed him, and it was caught on video. He goes on to say, however, if we're going to talk about whose people conquered whose land, it's Africans that invaded and pillaged my land, Sicily. Stop right there. Did y'all know that Paulie is Sicilian and not Italian? There's a difference. Did y'all know that? So now he brought that up. He brought this up. He brought this up. So now we're getting somewhere. His hatred is deep-rooted. There I know about Sicilians. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. I will say that I played some, I used to work out at this gym and they had a little football team. And we used to play some flag football. And the owner of the gym that I used to go to was an Italian guy, cool dude. And I played ball with them. I was the only black guy on the team. And when we would go to these different parks and play these other gyms, they say, hey, just say you're Sicilian. Say you're Sicilian. And I'm like, huh? And I understood what they were saying. Why do you think that they were telling me to say I was Sicilian? Jokingly. Why do you think that? So now Paulie's mad that he said the Africans invaded and pillaged the land of Sicily. I didn't know Africans went to Sicily, knocked people upside the head and kidnapped them and brought them back to the continent of Africa. I thought they just came in there and hung out for a while, and that's where the term tall, dark, and handsome came from. I even saw in a movie one time where they said they did so much effing around there that the bloodline is tainted. So every third or fourth generation, the kid comes out my complexion with woolly hair. I mean, that's what I saw in the movie, but do your own research on that. I'm not going to touch that. He said, pillage my land, Sicily, and not my people coming here in those slave days. If we're going to blame history on today's modern society, then you're going to lose this one, player, because just because I choose not to play victim mentality doesn't mean I don't have more of a right to it than you do. And it happened to my people from your people. So let's stick to the modern society, because if you want to play the victim of history game, you're going to always lose it with Sicilians. Wow. I didn't know Sicilians are going through a struggle to this day that dates back 500 years. I didn't know that. Point me at them. I want to interview you. I want to know how bad your life is. I want to know how you're being discriminated against and shot in the street. I want to know. I want to know. I didn't know Africans came to Sicily and raped and pillaged and brought disease and then stole people and brought them back to Africa and put them on plantations and all kinds of weird stuff and oppressed them. I didn't know that, Paulie. He goes on to say, hence why I have no tolerance for playing the victim role. So now when I bring up what I just brought up, I'm playing the victim. And this guy's telling me that Arbery is responsible for his own death. And you're seeing it right here. This is him. Okay? I'm revisiting this for the second time, and I knew I'd have to. Okay? He goes on to say, he says, we may have histories of being oppressed. Wow. But why does it need to define us when today we can choose to better ourselves? Excuse me. We choose to better ourselves? Has he ever heard of Tulsa, Black Wall Street, and all the other towns that were bombed by airstrike? Does he know about that? We were doing better without the help of the white man. And what did you guys do? Well, I'm sorry. The Italians didn't do it. But when we talk about things like that, you tell us, yo, never mind that, get over that, but always remember 9/11, right? Tell a Jewish person to forget the Holocaust. See what happens to you. Go ahead, see what happens to you. They have every right to recognize and mourn for what happened to their people as we do ours. But when we bring it up, we're playing a victim role. I'm going to get to what this really is about in a second. He says, we may have histories of being oppressed, but why does it need to define us today? Okay, I read that. Okay, perception is everything. A person who perceives themselves as a victim will stun their own progression. That's my 2 cents. If you don't understand that, like I have understood it, then I don't need your support regardless. So he basically told me to go F myself. Ducking racism is so petty, yet it controls so much of the daily topic today. Only regression happens that way, not progression. I respond, oh, now we're getting somewhere. Glad you brought up your land. There's a reason why I said what I said. Did you catch it? See, I know how to push buttons. I know how to push buttons. I said that on purpose. I said perception is indeed everything. Like your sudden use of the term player. Yo, player. When you're talking or referring to black people, stand on your square. When I talk to Italians, I don't say things like yo paisan. Yo paisan. You think I didn't catch that? So your opinion is that black people play victim? I said, where's your proof that Arbery attacked his son? Because he said basically he said Arbery wouldn't have got shot if he didn't attack his son. Now, this man that ran around in the truck recording the whole thing didn't record the part where they said Arbery attacked them first. He said, I said I haven't seen it anywhere. How can we go off of their words based off of everything that I pointed out and what you actually agree with? If someone pulls a shotgun out on you at close range for reasons that you personally cannot comprehend, will you not try to defend yourself? This goes back to what you said at the top. They should have stayed home. He said that. They should have stayed home. Just like Arbery allegedly attacked the son, maybe the son should not have approached Arbery for jogging through the neighborhood that he lived in. Y'all remember? Arbery lived in that neighborhood. When did it matter what someone is wearing when they're jogging outside? And he made reference to Arbery because there's bits and pieces. I got the screenshots jumbled up, but he says, Arbery wasn't dressed for jogging. And I'm like, Paulie, we live in New York. We've seen people jog in the street wearing the weirdest things. You'll see a grown man in a tutu jogging down First Avenue in Manhattan. That's what he wants to wear. That's what he wants to wear. And I said, I also understand that Arbery jogged often in his neighborhood. Paulie, do you realize that this is an issue that only happens with black people? Look up how many black people have been shot over things in our hands, like candy bars, cigarettes, keys, and my personal favorite, obeying commands of the officer with their hands up. Okay? Not to be outdone, get shot by the cop while running away. Okay? I didn't know there was a dress code for jogging. I had guns pulled out on me on close range and in the past, and luckily I came out on the winning side of that. You know what? This is a lot. We had a long conversation. He goes on to talk about his interview was taken out of context after 78. Shout out to 78 Sports TV, the general, when Devin was on his show and said, I never let a white boy beat me. But we all know when you listen to the interview, you know who he was talking about. He was baiting somebody. And they took that, ran with it, and they went straight to Paulie. And he did this interview, and then everyone jumped on him, and he felt like he was getting bullied. Yo, look, man, let me tell you what this is about, because I really don't want to make this video too long. Okay? Dig this here, man. This is what this is about. What you're looking at here is Paulie Malignaggi's box record. His record is 36 wins, 7 KOs, 8 losses, 5 KOs, no draws. Let's go down here. His career started in 2001. His first loss was against Miguel Cotto at Madison Square Garden for the WBO super lightweight title. He got mauled and stopped. No, I'm sorry, he didn't get stopped. His jaw was swollen real bad. He made it to the cards. He showed grit. He was kind of tough, but Cotto, stomped a mud hole in him. Okay, he had a couple of more fights at the Cherry Bomb Cherry, Love More and Do twice. He gets up here to Ricky Hatton, fights him in Vegas, and he got stopped. He's crying in the ring. He got stopped. All right. He even bought Ricky a 6-pack of Blue Moon beer, because Ricky likes to drink. Bought him a gift before he fought him, and Ricky proceeded to whoop his ass. Then right here, he fought Baby Bull Juan Diaz. It says lost unanimous decision. I thought he won that fight. And after that fight, he says, I love the business of boxing, but I hate it. He said, this is why boxing sucks. I won the fight. He hurt Juan Diaz in that fight also. They rematched immediately. He got the win, unanimous decision. Then he gets in the ring back in MSG in his hometown in New York and fights Amir King Khan and got stopped by Amir Khan. Okay. Has a couple more fights here. Comes to the Barclays, loses to Adrian Broner, beats Zab Judah, then gets mauled by Sean Porter, right? Then got beat up by Daniel Garcia. In his last professional fight in 2017, Sam Eggington knocked him out. All right. Now, here's why I'm pointing out his goddamn box rec. All right. Let me make the connection here. 36 wins, 7 KOs. In our conversation on Instagram, he also he insisted he's not a racist, and I made a reference to the black culture, and he says, he's worn cornrows, and he loves the hip hop culture, something to that effect. Let me explain something to you, Paulie. That's the rhythm of a racist. Y'all love our culture. Y'all just can't stand us. Okay? Y'all can't stand us. I've seen you with the cornrows. You look silly. You even had a haircut in the middle of your match. You look silly. I watched some of your interview and I couldn't stomach it. All right? I did hear you say that Deontay Wilder's basically going to get eviscerated. He can't fight off the back foot. I don't know where you got that from. You're saying that Tyson Fury comes from a gritty background and bare knuckle fighting and stuff. But I'm looking at your record. You got 36 fights and 7 KOs, which means you was feather fisted. You was stopped 5 times. At what point did anyone say, you should pack it up? When your jaw was all swollen off your damn face after Miguel Cotto, after you got mauled by Sean Porter. Did anyone say, you should pack it up? Huh? You had a close fight with Juan Diaz that I thought you won. Then you came back and beat him. Did you say AJ should pack it up? After getting dropped several times and not responding to the ref. Did you remember that Deontay didn't quit? His fugazi corner threw the damn towel in. And you're saying, he won't be able to blame racism for this? Let me explain something to you, Paulie. Don't act stupid. Because it wasn't that long ago where your ass was running around talking about boxing's a dirty sport. Let me take this down there, man. Y'all need to see that. Because y'all know it already. It wasn't that long ago you was talking about boxing's a dirty sport. Didn't you accuse Manny Pacquiao of cheating? You were pro OSDT. Boxing's a dirty sport. I could pull it up. Was that not you, Paulie, complaining? Fighters cheating you, but that's okay, right? Right, Paulie? So now Deontay Wilder, he's complaining about the exact same things that you're complaining about. The things with the gloves, you don't want to believe it now. It's negotiable. Right? Just like Colin Kaepernick taking a knee against police brutality was bad. So bad that he don't have a job in the NFL right now. But the knee on George Floyd's neck, that was negotiable. We had to have a trial about that and everything, right? It's funny how the people with the biggest opinions in reference to law enforcement, the only thing they know about law enforcement is when they got their asses locked up. I always find that strange, the know-it-alls. It's like the chick could tell you everything it is, everything about raising a child. They're like, do you have children? No, but I've babysat a bunch of times. That's different. You just know how to warm up some bottles and give it to the child. You don't know anything past that, ma. What you're doing, what you heard, if you was able to stomach that interview from Paulie, if you could stomach it, what you was hearing was pure hatred. And from, like I said, a lot of these fighters, it's hatred from all, and it's right on time. It's hatred from all angles. Let me remind you guys, Deontay Wilder didn't come out the womb and have this like dream from when he was a child saying, I wanted to be a boxer. He literally got off the beer truck and said, yo, look, I can't help my daughter with this salary. I think I'm gonna go fight and see how that works out. And millions of dollars later, here we are. But guys like Paulie and these other fools that I'm not gonna mention, these other fools come out the womb with these dreams. 5 years old, they're in the gym hitting the bag. By the time they're 10, they have basic reflexes in a ring IQ. By the time they're 18, they're pretty damn good. And by the time they're 21, they're getting jerked around in the rankings, and they're trying to find their way, and the business is getting away with what they want to do. And then here comes this slim basketball player looking dude from Alabama with not the best vocabulary in the world, but he's passionate about what he does, and he has a God-given right hand and a left one. Don't sleep. And it doesn't make sense. He's in the heavyweight. He's not small enough to be in cruiserweight or light heavyweight, but he's heavy enough to be in the heavyweight. He's never outweighed any of his opponents, gets in the ring, and is knocking everyone senseless. People outweighing him by 15 to 50 pounds, and he's leveling them. And a lot of these athletes are looking at it like, man, this is just not fair. I always wanted to be a heavyweight champion. I didn't get that big. I stopped growing at 5'6" or 5'5" or 5'11" or 6 feet tall. I can eat all the cake I want, but I'll be out of shape. But when I get in shape, I can't get no heavier than 168, 160, 154, 147, 122. And where'd this guy come from? I went to college. This isn't fair. And instead of counting your blessings, you let your hatred take over your thought process. And you lose sight of what's really important. Now, I expect this behavior from Paulie, but not from others. But that's for another video. But Paulie, I expect this from. Because it's not only you're jealous of Deontay Wilder. You can't stand the guy because he got your ass fired. I ain't forget that. And everything else that I just read to you, y'all connect those dots yourself. Paulie. This is all documented, man. We see you. We see you, man. I'm not about to listen to a word you say in reference to boxing, in reference to a black fighter. I don't care what you got to say because I know what's in your heart. You just sat up there and had a conversation with me and accused Arbery of basically killing himself, completely disregarding that those 3 white men broke the goddamn law. And 2 of them were Klansmen, a father and son. And when you thought that he broke the law, you ran straight to social media and told everyone, yo, I think you need to review the new evidence. I said, what evidence? The people who own the property said he didn't break any laws. And when they said that, those people started getting death threats from who? Other white supremacists. I explained all of this by way of conversation. And as you can see, his core beliefs prohibited him to see the truth. That's what we call cognitive dissonance. He doesn't care. So when you're talking about a guy that doesn't care, you asking him to give an honest and unbiased opinion about what he thinks going to happen. Okay, fine. Let's say you think Fury is going to win. What is this? Race ain't going to help him. Blaming race relations ain't going to help him. What you mean? You gonna act like race didn't play a part of any of this? But you know what? You messed up, Paulie. You said, hey, if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. Stop right there. If you were so confident, you wouldn't even have said that. You see, we partying all the way up until the 25th. This is a party. The first part of the work was done. D went from being quiet, not saying anything, to y'all. The quiet, him being silent was bothering y'all so much that y'all had to make up lies and say that he was depressed. Everyone that told me, yo, he's depressed, I said, okay, well, when you spoke to him, did he sound depressed? Oh, well, I didn't speak to him, so how do you know he's depressed? How do you know he's depressed if you haven't spoken to him? You know what this is? It's an organized effort. And an exciting lie sounds so much better than the boring old truth. He didn't have to say a word. You know why? What do I always tell y'all, family? Time reveals all truth. You dig? Time reveals all truth. We told y'all for months that he wasn't going to lose that arbitration. And these guys lied to you all the way up until the day before. And instead of questioning them and getting mad at them for getting your hopes up, y'all came back to us and just started cursing us out for what? Being right? We tried to tell y'all. We tried, but that's okay. Because time reveals all truth. And a lie is nothing but the long way to the truth. Paulie, you said if you're wrong. He said, yeah, if I'm wrong, if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. No, if he proves you wrong, then he's right. It's not if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. No. Look at those betting odds. They're a little too close for a guy that is picked to win so easily. Man, y'all can go look at that interview if you want to. I refuse to. But Paulie, you need to get right, man. You really need to get right. But I know at this point you're set in your ways and it's impossible because it's a situation where instead of saying, yo, you know what? I could be wrong on this. You're just going to stand on your square just because your ego's in the way now. And that's okay because this is who you are. I didn't review the entire conversation because the family could see how it goes. But based off of that, I don't want to hear anything you have to say about any fighter that is black. I don't care what you have to say. After that, Aubrey got himself killed. After that, George Floyd got himself killed too, right? Right. Man. You have nothing else to say, Paulie. I'm not listening. Matter of fact, you finna get blacked out, man. Anytime they put a mic in front of your face to announce it, I'm shutting the whole program off. I don't care who's on that card. But I ain't got to worry because all the fighters that I follow, they're going to make sure you're not commentating. I'll show it. Bronx on deck.